Good afternoon, brothers and sisters, and welcome to another daily devotional with Stephen, the Saved Schizophrenic. Today, we have a very interesting discussion ahead of us before we get into the devotional. Like yesterday, last night, I uploaded a video which discussed our topic for today. And we're discussing, should someone who has a serious mental health illness disorder, should they strive to be in a relationship? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? What are the pros and cons? Is it something that's realistic that someone with a mental health illness like bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or a major depressive disorder, is it realistic that they should be in a relationship? Is it realistic that they should strive to get married and have kids? What does that look like? So that's what we're going to be talking about before we get into the devotional today. And I want to be clear that I am going to be talking about my opinion on what I think. I don't talk on behalf of anyone. Everything that I say is my opinion, and it's not associated with anyone else. I don't talk on behalf of all schizophrenics. I don't talk on behalf of all people who have a mental health illness or disorder. I only speak for myself. So just to let you know, these are my experiences only, and hopefully you understand that when I'm giving you my opinion, it's only mine. So I wanted first to start out, what does it look like to strive to be in a relationship, or what does it even look like in the beginning of a relationship if someone with a mental health illness or diagnosis is in a relationship? What does the beginning look like? How does it unfold? What does it look like? Is it different than a normal relationship? And if it is different, how? What is different? Is it communication? Is it honesty? Is it transparency? Is it one person is more of a caregiver while the other person is not? Or are they both caregivers? Kind of what does it look like? Because I think that's something that we have to talk about right away, is that someone who has a mental health diagnosis, they are not quote unquote normal, but I mean, I hate using that word, but it's true. Someone who has a mental health diagnosis is not normal, and they very well cannot be sane. If they have schizophrenia like myself, sometimes we are cray-cray. Sometimes we're crazy. Sometimes we do things that are on par with insanity. There are moments to where we have a psychotic episode, we experience psychosis, out of body experiences. We experience times of hallucinations and paranoia and delusions, and so we are not acting as a normal human being. We are acting out of sorts, and to put bluntly, we are acting very crazy. And so to be in a relationship with someone who has a mental health diagnosis, absolutely it's going to be different than a normal relationship because of that person's diagnosis. I would say that because of that person's diagnosis, more than likely one person is going to be more of a caregiver role. And that's not a bad thing in itself, but it does mean that one person is going to have a little bit more of a responsibility than usual. And I've been in a relationship where one person was the caregiver, my partner was the caregiver, and it was a lot of pressure for her. It was a lot of weight for her to carry, to take care of me. And it was unfair because I couldn't do anything to help her because of my diagnosis and my symptoms, and my schizophrenia made it to where I had a lot more setbacks than a usual normal person. I had more relapses, whether it had to do with addiction, sobriety, substance abuse, whether it had to do with psychosis and struggling with psychotic episodes where I relapsed several times. And those relapses contributed a lot to her being tired, being exhausted, of her not wanting to do it anymore. And so we have to be honest that those relationships are going to look different. Someone who has a serious mental illness, the relationship definitely is going to be different than someone who is with someone who doesn't have an illness. And so I'm going to read what I wrote when it came to what the relationship first looks like. And hopefully it gives you some idea of how it blooms, how it begins. How does that relationship become a relationship? So this is called Love Through the Noise. I met you through the static of my mind, a gentle hand reaching where shadows unwind. The world was loud, fractured, unclear, but your voice cut through, soft, sincere. You smiled and the chaos bent, like storm clouds breaking, finally spent. I wondered if you could truly see the jagged edges inside of me. I told you of the whispers in my head, the rooms I walk where no words are I told you of the whispers in my head, the rooms I walk where no words are said. I feared you'd run, call me broken, untrue. But you stayed, whispering, I will walk with you. Your touch became my tether to the ground, a promise that love could still be found. But still I asked, can you bear this weight? You held me closer, defying fate. That's one of the aspects of a relationship with mental health, especially if someone is going to be in a relationship with someone who has a mental health diagnosis, is honesty and transparency, that person with that diagnosis absolutely should tell the truth that I have bipolar disorder, I have schizophrenia, I have a major depressive disorder, I have a major anxiety disorder. Tell the truth right away, because it's just, if you're going to hold it in and keep it to yourself, that surprise per se, when that person finally finds out, could push them away, could end up being too much and they could walk away. But if you tell them right away, at least you're honest, you're transparent, and it gives them time to really be thankful that you're honest with them. I found it in my relationships, the times where I was honest in the beginning and said, I have this illness, this disorder, and it makes it difficult for me to do X, Y, and Z. The people that I've gone on dates with have been more, have reacted more warmly to my honesty than if I hold it back and don't tell them. And especially if they find out later, it feels like you're lying. It feels like you lied to them. And no one appreciates when they feel like someone's lied to them. So definitely tell them right away about your diagnosis, because the earlier they know, the more they can figure out how to help and support you in the long run. I told you of the whispers in my head, the rooms I walk where no words are said. I feared you run, call me broken, untrue. Oh, I already read that. There are mornings the world feels kind, the sky wide open, the sun aligned. We laugh over coffee, share quiet songs, and for a moment nothing feels wrong. I tell you dreams of gardens and stearns, and I tell you dreams of gardens and streams. You tell me yours, stitched with gleam. On those days I forget the fight, because with you the world feels right. But love with me is not always light. There are nights I lose my sight. Hallways bend, voices jeer. I beg you, please don't disappear. You sit beside me when shadows call, holding steady when I start to fall. Your patience glows like a steadfast flame, even when I forget my own name. And that's what I mean by telling them right away of your illness if you're on a date with someone, because the earlier you tell them and are honest with them, the more likely that they will be willing to stay with you because you're honest. And if they're willing to stay with you, more than likely they're willing to learn how to be supportive. And if they learn how to be supportive, that is a huge deal. It shows their commitment to your relationship and that they love you and they care about you and they like you for who you are. And that's a huge deal, at least to me. So I do think it's possible that someone with a mental health diagnosis can be in a relationship, but they just need to be realistic and honest with themselves that it's going to look different. It's going to look different than a normal relationship. So, still, I see the worry in your eyes, the questions hidden, the quiet sighs. You wonder if I'll ever be free, if I'll drown and take you with me. I ache for your burdens carried so deep, the tears you hide when you think I sleep. I want to love you without the chains, but illness whispers and hope refrains. Yet even fractured I make this vow, to love you fiercely here and now. Through broken thoughts, through heavy rain, through fleeting peace and sudden pain, your love is an anchor, my guiding star, reminding me I'm more than my scars. Together we're fragile, yet endlessly strong, a melody jagged, but still a song. In your arms I find a sacred place, a temple of warmth, a gentle grace. You don't ask me to silence the noise, you just listen, honoring my voice. You teach me love is not just ease, it's staying close when storms don't cease. In your embrace I begin to see, love is stronger than my disease. So if tomorrow brings fractured skies and shadows dance before my eyes, I will know your love will light my way, a constant flame that will not sway. We are not perfect, but we are true. My broken heart still beats for you. And though schizophrenia shapes my fate, our love is a door, it opens, not gates. Together we'll walk hand in hand across this trembling, shifting land. In your eyes I finally find a love that outshines the noise in my mind. And that's what it feels like when you find that special person who seems like they're the one. Especially when you have a mental health diagnosis, when you find that one person who completes you, who feels like they know how exactly to respond to when you need support. When you meet that person whose voice cuts through the crap and you hear their voice when you're struggling and you are able to really just follow their voice and their energy and their intentions, and you're able to struggle through and persevere because you know they're with you and they're sticking with you, that's when you know their relationship is real, that it's meant to be there, that it's meant to happen, that you're meant to be in that relationship. When they stay through the hard stuff, through the struggles, as if they're there to ride or die, that's when you know they're the one. And so that is, when it comes to building that relationship or creating that relationship, what it's about. Now we're going to talk about what it is like to keep that relationship together, what it takes. And so I'm going to read what I wrote about what it takes to keep that relationship from falling apart. This is called Love Through the Noise Part 2. We learn to build a life from the cracks, patching the walls where the daylight lacks. Every day it's stitched by thread between the battles inside my head. You taught me home is not a place, but the warmth of your patient face, even when the night is long. Together we find where we belong. We made rituals, soft and kind, anchors to soothe my restless mind. Tea at dawn, your hand in mine, a whispered prayer before bedtime. These little things, steady and true, remind me daily I'm safe with you. Love is not grand, it's quiet, clear, it's showing up, it's staying near. And that's really important, is the little things in a relationship, especially with someone who has a mental health diagnosis. The little things are so important because they can make or break the relationship, such as praying before bedtime, having tea or coffee, in the morning, having a bagel or having a bowl of cereal with the one you love. Those small things of sitting on the couch and watching your favorite TV show for an hour or two. eating in and ordering DoorDash and just relaxing on the floor with covers and a couple blankets and a couple pillows. And the small things, going out to eat at your favorite restaurants and, ordering dessert and sharing a dessert. It's those small things that really allow someone with a mental health diagnosis to be thankful that they're in the relationship they're in. Someone who listens and doesn't judge and is able to let you vent to them. That small aspect of being able to vent to someone truly is one of the greatest gifts someone could give you. And so this is what it takes to be in a relationship with someone who has a mental health diagnosis, is that it's different, and they're probably going to need to vent. They're probably going to need to talk about things, even things that they don't want to talk about, but they need to talk about. But it takes a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of energy to be in a relationship with someone who has a mental health diagnosis. There are days I lose the fight, sinking deep in an endless night. I scream at shadows, flinch at sounds, and feel the earth tilt off the ground. I hate the way you see me break, the fragile glass, cracks that quake, yet you hold me through the storm's embrace, with steady arms, with endless grace. I see the tiredness in your bones, how you carry the weight that isn't your own, the patience it takes, the quiet pain, the fear that it might all be in vain. But still you choose to walk with me, even when it costs you peace. Your love's not blind, it's bold, it's brave, a fire that teaches me I can be saved. And that's what you have to be honest about, that when you're in a relationship with someone who has a mental health diagnosis, that other person is a caregiver 100%, because not only do they have to care for you as a partner, as a girlfriend, as a boyfriend, as a spouse, as a husband, as a wife, but they have to care for you in ways that a normal relationship they wouldn't have to. If you have bipolar disorder, they have to worry about the mania and the up and down of emotions and feelings and the roller coaster ride. They have to worry about, if you have depressive episodes and a depressive disorder, about the lows and how they can get you out of those funks of getting you out of the lows so you can feel stable. If you have schizophrenia, someone has to understand what it means to have episodes of psychosis. And so as a caregiver, you have more weight than most people. And that takes a lot of energy from someone. And it can make it so they're tired and they just need time to themselves and they need rest. And so it's a fight, it's a battle. And some people, they can't take it, which is why they leave those relationships and end those relationships, because they're tired of being a caregiver. They never signed up to be a caregiver to begin with. And that's if you hide your disorder, hide your illness. But at least if you're honest with what illness you have in the beginning of the relationship, that person knows what they're getting into, and really you told them right away that you're probably going to be in a caregiver role because of my illness, and that gives them a chance to agree or disagree, gives them a chance to stay or to leave. At least you gave them that chance. There are mornings we dance in the rain, laughing loud, forgetting pain. We cook, we kiss, we dream of more, a life beyond the hospital doors. Those moments remind us why we stay, why we fight through another day. For even fractured souls can see love paints beauty in tragedy. We talk of futures fragile, bright, a house, a garden, kids one night. I wonder if illness will steal that chance, yet in your eyes I see romance. You tell me we'll take it slow, whatever comes, together we'll grow. Hope feels strange, but with you it's true. A future is possible, me and you. I used to pray to be made whole, to silence the voices, to mend my soul. But you've shown me love does not demand perfection shaped by steady hands. You love me despite the noise, the scars, not in spite of who I am. And in that truth I finally see I am worthy of love, even with schizophrenia. So if forever looks jagged, unsure, we'll face it together, love is the cure. Through hospital nights, through hospital nights, through golden days, through broken thoughts, through healing ways. Our story isn't polished, neat, but it's raw, it's real, it's bittersweet. And when the world forgets my name, your love remains, it stays the same. Forever is not perfect, but it is ours, written in shadows, lit by stars. A love resilient, brave and true, the miracle of me and you. And that's really what it is about, is understanding that your relationship is not perfect and it won't be perfect. When you're with someone who has a mental health diagnosis, your relationship is going to have so many imperfections, so many flaws, because that person has a serious disorder, one that makes it so they have more struggles than a normal person, they have more struggles than an ordinary person. And that's just the truth, that when you have a mental health diagnosis, you're going to go through things that other people don't go through. It doesn't mean that you have it worse or you have it, bad. It just means that you have a little bit of extra stuff that you have to deal with besides for the normal life struggles. And that's part of the relationship, is knowing that our relationship isn't perfect. You're going to struggle. I'm going to struggle. And how are we going to get through this? How are we going to be passionate, sincere, and loving caregivers to each other? Is it possible even? Because some people are not good caregivers. Some people were never meant to be caregivers because they're boastful, they're egotistical, they're immodest. And you don't want to be with someone who's like that. So that's what it's about, being in a relationship, what it takes. Next, we're going to talk about heartbreak and what heartbreak does to someone who has a mental health diagnosis. This is called Shattered Glass in My Chest. The day you left, it was not only the silence of the door, but the echo that clanged against my skull. A bell rung too loud, reverberating through thoughts, already cracked by voices not my own. I sat in the living room watching your shadows vanish, but my mind stitched phantoms into the walls, and I couldn't tell if it was your absence or my illness that screamed louder. You said, I can't do this anymore, and my chest collapsed inward, not with words, but with a thunderclap only I seemed to hear. Schizophrenia is a mirror already webbed with fractures, and when love shatters on it, the glass doesn't break clean, it explodes, sending shards in every direction. Every memory of your laugh becomes a splinter in my skin. Every whisper of your name becomes a ghost behind me. Every hallucination carries your face until I no longer know what is real, and what is only grief wearing your disguise. And that's a lot of what happens with someone who has a mental health diagnosis. When someone breaks their heart and ends their relationship, it can cause them to relapse. It can cause a huge setback. It can cause an episode of psychosis, an episode of it can cause a psychotic episode. It can cause a depressive episode. It can cause an episode of anxiety. It can cause them to take 3, 4, 5 steps backwards. And I just wish people would realize that heartbreak can cause that much pain and suffering. And it's just, I wish people would understand what they're getting into before they get into it, so they can limit and minimize that pain from that heartbreak. Because it's not easy. I've had heartbreaks before, and every time I've had a heartbreak of someone who left me and just said, I've had enough, I can't do this anymore, I've had a psychotic episode, and I've had psychosis, and I've had to go to the hospital and be hospitalized for a week or 2 weeks. And it's not fun. It's hard. And it sucks because you lose yourself. You don't know what you're doing anymore. You're not with the person you love anymore, and so you're alone. And you don't know where to go from there. It sucks. Nights are the worst. The bed folds in on itself, a cavern carved by your absence. I lie awake listening for footsteps that never return, for your key in the lock, for the apology I imagine. You whisper to the walls, the voices mock me, saying you are never mine, that you were a mirage, drawn on the canvas of delusion. But then I look at the photos, the way your hand gripped mine, and I want to scream. This was real, wasn't it? But no one answers. People tell me heartbreak fades, that wounds mend with time, but time inside my head does not flow like a river. It loops, rewinds, plays the scene of you leaving, plays the scene of your leaving over and over, an eternal rerun of my undoing. My illness amplifies the sorrow, a song I cannot shut off, a static that never clears, a theater of pain with no curtains to close. I sit in the front row, forced to watch as my sanity and my love burn together. I wonder if you knew how fragile I was, how every goodbye felt like an earthquake, how every empty chair became a battlefield. I wish I could tell you that loving while schizophrenic is like loving in a storm. I clutch at you desperately while lightning strikes inside me, while thunder ricochets in my skull, and when you let go, I fall not into silence, but into the endless roar of my own mind. Now I walk the streets alone, watching couples laugh, their worlds unbroken. I wonder if my heart will ever beat without echoes. I pick up the fragments of myself, but they are jagged, cutting deeper as I hold them. Still, I press them to my chest because even in pain, they are all I have left of love. You are gone, and I am broken, but somewhere beneath the wreckage, I hope, I pray, that one day the storm will calm, and even if you never return, I will rise from the shattered glass with a heart still beating, still searching, still alive. And that's what I hope sometimes, that people with a mental health diagnosis who go through a heartbreak, that they realize as long as they put in the work, put in the effort, put in the energy, and reflect and ponder about the truth that if that person left, they were never meant to be in your life to begin with. If they gave up on you, that was a learning moment. That was a test. That was a trial. And it's about how you are going to react. That is the test, the trial, how you're going to react. Are you going to take it personally and fall into despair and struggle and have, episodes of depression and anxiety and mood swings? And are you going to let your schizophrenia get the best of you? Are you going to listen to your hallucinations? Are you going to allow paranoia and delusion to, control your life? Or are you going to ponder and reflect and be honest with yourself that this person hurt me, they broke my trust, but I'm going to rely on God, I'm going to rely on Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ is going to get me through this period of struggle. Who are you going to rely on? The trial is about who you are going to rely on. Are you going to rely on God to get you out of the struggle you're in, or are you going to try to do it yourself with no help? That's what it's about. But I know that wasn't a straightforward answer to should a schizophrenic or should someone with a mental health diagnosis be in a relationship. I kind of was, it's just, that's my answer. My answer is it's complicated, and each relationship is different, and that you should know what you're getting into when you get into that relationship, and be honest with that partner about your struggles, about your illness. Don't hide it. Do not hide your illness from a potential partner. Not at all. So, we're going to get into the devotional now, guys, brothers and sisters, so we're getting into it. This is Matthew chapter 26, verses 57 to 68. Again, this is Matthew chapter 26, verses 57 to 68. Then those who had seized Jesus led him to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the scribes and the elders had gathered. And Peter was following him at a distance, as far as the courtyard of the high priest, and going inside, he sat with the guards to see the end. Now the chief priests and the whole council were seeking false testimony against Jesus, that they might put him to death. But they found none, though many false witnesses came forward. At least 2 came forward and said, "This man said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and to rebuild it in 3 days." And the high priest stood up and said, "Have you no answer to make? What is it that these men testify against you?" But Jesus remained silent. And the high priest said to him, "I adjure you by the living God, tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God." Jesus said to him, "You have said so, but I tell you, from now on you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his robes and said, "He has uttered blasphemy. What further witnesses do we need? You have now heard his blasphemy. What is your judgment?" They answered, "He deserves death." Then they spit in his face and struck him, and some slapped him, saying, "Prophesy to us, you Christ, who is it that struck you?" Reflection. At Jesus' trial with the Jewish authorities, the high priest pointedly asked him whether or not he is the Christ, the Son of God. Jesus, who has been somewhat elusive or even silent about his true identity, now openly claims that he is the anticipated Son of Man. One day his accusers will see that this seemingly trapped and helpless prisoner is, in fact, heaven's divine king. With these words, Jesus virtually seals his execution. The Jewish court is outraged by his claim, sentences him to death, and begins to violently abuse and mock him. Though it seems as though hope is fading, the mission of God to save sinners is moving ahead, as the Lamb of God is now led to slaughter. That was a perfect summary of what we read in Matthew chapter 26, so I'm going to leave it at that. Next, 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 24 to 27. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 24 to 27. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. So I do not run aimlessly. I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others I myself should be disqualified. Reflection. Jesus told us that the Christian life requires hard work. Paul's athletic images in 1 Corinthians chapter 9 remind us once again that we cannot coast. Discipleship requires a sustained, intense effort. We must remember, however, that Christ is the one who strengthens us for the battle. The grace we have already received gives us power and motivates us to complete our race. Someday soon, Christ's people will reach the final victory and join Jesus in the fullness of the resurrection he has purchased for us. Psalm chapter 39, verse 7, "And now, O Lord, for what do I wait? My hope is in you." It's about having hope, brothers and sisters. Having hope in Jesus Christ. Having hope that what he did on Calvary is for you. Having hope that Heavenly Father knows what you're going through, and he sent his Son to rescue you, to break you out of those chains. Hope is what we have, and hope is a powerful, powerful tool. Thoughts for prayer. Sometimes it is hard to see what God is doing, but we can trust that he is always in perfect control of our lives and accomplishing his purposes. Share your concerns with him and ask him to give you faith as you face the uncertainties in your life. Yes, because we will face uncertainties. We definitely will. And when you face uncertainties, hope is what you got. So brothers and sisters, thank you so much for listening to today's episode and to Thank you for listening to today's devotion. I hope and I pray that both the topic of discussion when it came to mental health and the devotion was relatable, and that you took something from them both. So thank you guys so much, brothers and sisters. I love each and every one of you. Know that no matter what country you're from, what religious background your family is, what you practice, what your faith is, no matter how much we disagree on politics or lifestyle choices, I love you from the bottom of my heart. And I pray for you. I pray that you find your purpose, that you find your way towards Christ, and you can begin to walk with him and begin to learn of his ministry and learn of the gospel and accept it and follow Christ one day, and then hopefully preach the gospel to other people. So thank you guys so much. Peace and blessings. I love you guys so much. Have a wonderful afternoon. God bless you guys. Peace out.